Hi, I'm Pat Barnard, Group Managing Editor for TMCnet, coming to you from IT Expo West in Los Angeles, and I'm joined with Christian Renaud, CEO of Palisade Systems. Welcome, Christian.
Thank you for having me.
How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Good. So why don't you provide us with a high-level overview of your company and what you guys do? You're in data loss prevention, you said, correct?
We are.
Okay.
So Palisade Systems provides data loss prevention solutions to the small medium business market.
Okay.
We do that in 3 different ways.
All right.
We do that as the standard appliance or a virtual machine
Okay.
for mid-sized businesses.
Okay.
We do that as a managed service through managed service provider partners that we have here at MSP World,
Right.
obviously.
Okay.
And we also do that at software as a service to very small businesses,
Okay.
like private physicians practices, things like that,
Right.
where they still need to protect regulated data,
Right.
and they need a way to actually monitor outbound communications like email.
Uh-huh.
So we provide that as a service.
Okay, great. So tell me about the importance of data loss prevention for these small businesses.
Absolutely. So we call it inside-out protection. A lot of companies spend a lot of their time worried about outside-in.
Mm-hmm.
What are the hackers doing to try to get into my organization to compromise that information?
Right. But very often it works the other way, doesn't it?
Statistically speaking, yeah, most
Yeah.
of those losses come from insiders going out, right?
Right, yeah.
And it's not necessarily a bad actor inside that's trying to send data to somebody outside. It's a non-malicious insider. It's an accidental loss. It's somebody typing in the wrong email address in Outlook.
Right.
And it's all of a sudden now I've got all my patient records out in the clear.
Right.
And it was a lot harder when we had file cabinets full of patient records, but now that they're all electronic, one mouse click, one enter key, and all of a sudden all those are out.
Right.
So we monitor all the outbound communications. We look for sensitive information. It could be financial information, could be patient health records.
Right.
We have a couple NFL teams. They protect their playbooks with us.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah, so I mean, you jump down to the play level, and if I see this much of a play or this much of a sequence, stop that from going out.
Right, that's great. So is it safe to say that regulatory compliance is driving a lot of your business at this point?
It is. This is one of those industries that's sort of regulated into viability, right?
Mm-hmm.
The government's saying either you have PHI, you have HIPAA, and high tech now, the components of that really allow the attorney generals to sue companies they don't think are protecting their information well enough or disclose it quick enough.
Yeah.
You have obviously all sorts of PFI, personal financial information regulations.
Right.
Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act, Sarbanes-Oxley, things like that.
Right.
FERPA in schools protecting student records.
Right.
Any particular, and not to mention the standard. I'd just like to protect my intellectual property, my playbook as an NFL team.
Right.
I just want to protect that.
And plus there's more and more data that you got to hold on to in order to meet compliance, right? Sometimes you got to go back 7, 8, 10 years or whatever it is.
We are in the great digitization age, right? We are digitizing all of this traditionally analog data.
Right.
And now all of a sudden, how are we going to protect that from accidentally getting out? Because it's so much easier to do that than the old days of back in the U-Haul truck in to steal all the file cabinets, right?
Right, right. Yep, that's interesting. So tell me how the SaaS service works. If I'm a small business and I'm concerned about my data, how does the SaaS service, how do I sign up for it and what's the process for how it works?
So the product name is Compliance Safe.
Okay.
So compliancesafe.com.
Uh-huh.
You go there. It looks like any other Web 2.0 service.
Right.
Here are the 4 different pricing models depending on the size of your organization.
Right.
You click to sign up. It gives you all the instructions. You can sign up right there on the web. You say, here's my domain name.
Right.
And what happens is we'll give you a cookbook and say, hand this to your IT guy, usually 5-person, 10-person doctor's office.
Right.
They're going to have the guy.
Yeah, one guy.
Right. Then hand this to your IT guy.
Mm-hmm.
And that IT guy is going to say, okay, well, from now on I'm going to send my emails through this organization. We then check those.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to talk about traditional enterprise data loss prevention or even mid-market data loss prevention, looking at all ports, looking at all the different protocols,
Right.
that's very, very custom. That's almost like taking your car to the auto detailer
Yeah.
and getting all the little toothbrush and all the little crevices.
Right, right.
This is a little bit more like the drive-through car wash model.
Okay.
Which is we're going to hit all the high spots, we're going to make sure your tires are nice and clean,
Right.
and then we're going to send everything on its way, but we're not going to do a whole lot of custom things.
Okay. Tell me how automated it is. In other words, it's got to be automated to a certain degree, right? Or does it require manual uploading of the data to the system?
So the entire configuration parameters of the solution are 4 steps.
Okay.
It's essentially what do you want us to do with credit card numbers, what do you want us to do with social security numbers,
Right.
patient health records, or personal health information,
Right.
and financial information, and do you want us to ignore it? Do you want us to block it? Do you want us to notify the sender that they're doing something like that?
Okay.
And so you get a little bit of a feedback loop. Hey, you're new here in the billing part of the organization. You probably need to know that we can't send out patient records in the clear to the insurer.
Yeah.
Right? And those are the 4 steps, and it's really about as easy as configuring a spam rule or something like that in Outlook, if you've ever done that.
Right.
It's that level of complexity because we understand that, especially for the software as a service offering, Compliance Safe,
Right.
the customers they're very technical, but they're technical at setting a bone
Mm-hmm.
or giving you a filling.
Right.
They're not technologists by the traditional networking definition.
Right, right.
And they don't know extended regular expressions and all the other things that are inherent in data loss prevention.
Right, right.
So we've really democratized the data loss prevention piece and bringing it down to every man who can configure it. If you can use email, if you can use Facebook, you can use the solution.
Cool, that's great. And what about retail? Do you play into that at all with PCI compliance? That's yet another regulation.
PCI DSS is another big driver for us, and credit
Right.
card numbers. It's one of the default rules in our software as a service offering, and it's actually one of the most commonly used filters that we use in our flagship products and our MSP offerings as well.
Right.
We sit there and monitor with a Loon algorithm. We can detect credit card numbers versus other numbers that are of the same number of digits, but not necessarily are going to be a credit card number. And
Right.
so you can say, this one's a Visa card, this one is your unique X number of digit patient identifier or client identifier number.
Right. You mentioned another sort of unique application with the NFL playbook
Yeah.
stuff. I thought that was kind of cool.
Well, every organization's got something that's secret or safe or sensitive. If it's my client database,
Right.
if it's my playbook, if it's my source code, whatever intellectual property.
Right.
And obviously we can fingerprint data on databases and say, you see that file share over there, that SharePoint, that's got my source code, or that's got
Right.
the essential documents. That's next month's earnings report.
Right. So it can be
Go take a look at
identified.
that, and in the meanwhile, during the quiet period, don't let that out.
Right. Now here's the next question. What brings you to a show like IT Expo?
Actually, we do a lot of business. As I mentioned, we sell specifically to small, medium businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Over time, what's obviously happened is those folks are going to managed service providers
Right.
as their solution providers of choice. We work with those folks. Data loss prevention fits very, very cleanly between the traditional anti-spam, antivirus, and the hosted exchange type services that they offer.
Right.
Fits very cleanly in between those.
Right.
MSP world that's here at the show.
You're right.
That's
That's probably the track you're most interested in.
We got
I'm
a lot
sure.
of MSPs coming around knocking on the door going, well, what do you know? I've got this offering and a big data loss prevention shaped hole in my services.
Cool. That's
Yeah,
great.
It's a great fit for us.
Good. Well, thanks for joining us. I appreciate it.
Thank you for
We've
having
been
me.
talking to Christian Renaud, CEO of Palisade Systems. We're coming to you from IT Expo West in Los Angeles. Thanks a lot, Christian.
Thank you.